Today we're going to talk about 9 anti-patterns and red flags that might be preventing you from having effective sprint retrospectives. Anti-pattern number 1, not having sprint retrospectives or not doing them with consistency. This might sound obvious, but you should have sprint retrospectives at the end of every sprint. But you might be surprised that a lot of teams, I talk with a lot of Scrum Masters, a lot of Scrum teams, they don't have sprint retrospectives, or not at least with consistency. They don't have this regular cadence each end of a sprint, their sprint retrospectives. There's multiple reasons that might be causing this refusal to do sprint retrospectives. We'll talk about some of these later in this video. But for now, one of the main reasons that I see, very common reason, I see Scrum teams not doing sprint retrospectives because there's nothing to improve. Yeah, nothing to improve. Scrum and Agile are all about continuous improvement. And if your team feels that there's nothing to improve, it's a clear sign that they need to improve. Anti-pattern number 2, rushed retrospectives. Maybe there's a deadline coming, a release coming, and the team decides to focus on actual work instead of attending the sprint retrospective. Let's just cancel it, or let's quickly do one in 15 minutes. It's clear that the team don't understand the value behind the sprint retrospective. That's why they are rescheduling it, canceling it, only doing 15 minutes. And it's a slippery slope. If they canceled it once, who says they won't cancel it the next sprint? And you end up not doing the sprint retrospectives. That's bad, and that's not Scrum. Scrum recommends for a 2-week sprint, 1 hour retrospective. There's a reason for that. There's value in this hour. And you can't do 15 minutes. If you do 15 minutes retro, you're not doing retrospectives. That's not Scrum. That's something else, but it's not Scrum, and you won't be getting the benefits of Scrum. And especially in this case, continuous improvement. Anti-pattern number 3, not being smart. And by smart, I mean specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-boxed. The acronym for SMART, reasonable, action items. First, you should never end a sprint retrospective without clear actions. Scrum teams learn by doing, not by talking only. The facilitator of a sprint retrospective should be reminding people, the Scrum team, that they need also to focus on action, not only talking, not only having insights and talking, debating about these insights and these ideas. Also actions, clear actions that need to be recorded by the end of a sprint retrospective. And make sure that you also follow up on these actions to ensure that they are done. Clear owners of these actions that will follow up on these actions. If you don't do that, you might end up not having effective sprint retrospectives. Basically, sprint retrospectives for nothing, a complete waste of time. That's the feeling that people get when there's no clear actions being done after the sprint retrospective. Because we're talking during the sprint retrospective and nothing is being done, so why waste time in the sprint retrospective? And then they start thinking that Scrum or Agile doesn't work. Anti-pattern number 4, stakeholders present in the sprint retrospective. Outsiders, external stakeholders, line managers, directors, present in the sprint retrospective of a Scrum team. This might be the worst anti-pattern I can think of because it causes the team to be unsafe. And an unsafe team can't really have an open discussion, and you end up not having an effective sprint retrospective. Any stakeholder that insists in joining the sprint retrospective is a clear signal that this person doesn't understand Scrum, Agile, or even safety. They should be coached on these topics. If this happens for your team, deny this request. If a stakeholder insists that you send them the minutes of meeting or the action lists, you deny this request also. Sprint retrospectives are for the team and they are private. If a stakeholder really wants to collaborate with the team, communicate with the team, they can join the daily Scrum as an observer. They can join the sprint review, provide feedback. They can grab lunch, coffee with team members. There's tons of ways to do that, but the sprint retrospective is not one of these. It's off limits. Private session. Anti-pattern number 5, not reviewing the action items, the improvement items. The team are having effective sprint retrospectives. They are ending the sprint retrospective with clear actions and clear owners. But when the sprint retrospective ends, we don't know what happened. We don't know if the experiment that we wanted to try was successful. We don't know if the improvement item was successful? Did the team actually improve? No one knows. They are never reviewed. This is bad. This can cause people to start getting this feeling that the sprint retrospectives are a waste of time. So what I like doing is starting the sprint retrospective, each one with going through the list of pending items or even completed items quickly and showing the team that they are improving. It's clear, you can show it. It's visible that the team is improving, that experiments are working and sometimes failing, but we are learning from that. Remember, again, a Scrum team learns by doing, not by talking only. Anti-pattern number 6, complaining too much. Team members complaining in the sprint retrospectives, whining, blaming others, pointing fingers at others. And the typical response to that is preventing them from doing that. Usually the facilitator preventing them from complaining, from whining, telling them to remain positive. It doesn't work because there's a reason why they are complaining too much. And there's tons of research done on this topic. It's proven that if you want to reduce complaints, people complaining and whining, you just need to make them feel that they are being treated equally. And translating this to the sprint retrospective is simply everyone having an equal voice. The facilitator ensuring that everyone's ideas, opinions are shared equally. They have a time to talk, it's equal, no one is bullying each other. And if they feel that way, they will stop complaining. It's proven to work. And pattern number 7, not inviting the product owner. Some people still believe that the product owner or a Scrum Master shouldn't be invited to the sprint retrospective. I really don't get it. The Scrum Guide says that the product owner is part of a Scrum team and the product owner should be considered part of a Scrum team, invited in all the sprint events. Everything, all the sessions, obviously the sessions where the product owner will bring value. But this includes the sprint retrospective. The product owner should be invited because they are part of a team. If developers in the team, they don't want to invite the product owner, ask them as a Scrum Master, ask them why. Do they feel unsafe? And the last anti-pattern, number 9, improvement is not a priority. For me, that's one of the main reasons why sprint retrospectives are ineffective. It's not the format, it's not the facilitator, it's not the people, it's not the ideas, it's the priority. You get all the ideas, clear owners, clear actions. Everyone is excited to change, to improve. Then in the next sprint planning, the product owner decides or the team decides it's not a priority anymore. We need to catch up on it on delays. We have deadlines to meet, releases to meet, tons of work to do. Why focus on improvement? Don't have time to do that. And when this happens, how do you think the team will feel in the next sprint retrospective? They won't even attend. Why attend? It's a waste of time. Improvements, not a priority. We are chasing deadlines instead. So why waste time in sprint retrospectives? If you are a Scrum Master and need to fix one thing and one thing only, fix this. This mentality, this mindset of continuous improvement, ensure that they see the value in continuous improvement and that it's prioritized correctly. And talking about improvement, if you want more tips, insights on Agile, Scrum, personal growth, click on the video that stands out the most on the screen right now, and I'll see you in a few seconds.